I grew up in Detroit, right? And growing up in Detroit has such a negative stigma on it. When a person hear the word Detroit, right, the first thing you might think of is negative things. You might stereotype, you might make assumptions based on what you heard, right? And first off, I'm gonna say a lot of stuff about growing up in Detroit is true. Okay, a lot of the things are true, poverty and all this stuff, negative, blah blah blah. But one thing I can say, growing up in Detroit is something I would never take away from my past. Like if I had a magic wand and they say you could change whatever you want, would I change growing up in Detroit? Not at all, right? I've learned so much growing up in Detroit, so many valuable lessons. I was exposed to so many things at a young age that the average kid probably isn't exposed to. Therefore, the average kid probably don't got those lessons and got those valuable insights that I was able to get early on in my life, right? So I'm blessed to have grew up in Detroit. I just turned 27 over the weekend, and I was looking at my life, and I was like, where I am now, right? One half of me was saying this. One half of me was saying, bro, you grew up in Detroit, right? You came from having to worry about your next meal. You came from having to worry about the lights getting cut off. You came from struggling. Now, I haven't had to worry about a meal in years, right? Lights and gas, all that stuff. Only time I'm worried about that is when it's a thunderstorm, right? So many things have changed, right? Now my life from that to that, it's a big shift over the years. But that's just half of me. The other half of me is saying, you 27, bro. Like now you should be here or here. Like I mentioned to my wife, I said, I think I could have been rich by now. Over the last few years, dabbling in the real estate, dabbling in all these different entrepreneurial things. I'm like, it's certain things I did wrong, certain things I want to fix. And it's like, you could be rich right now. I told that to her. And that have me feeling behind, right? That have me feeling like, be real, bro. You behind in life. You 27, starting to hear that you getting old jokes, right? Like you don't have like my North Star is pretty big. Let's say that. I have big dreams and big goals that I'm nowhere near yet. But that half of me, I'm listening to it and I'm just like, yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But the reality is this. From where I come from to where I am now, it's like, bro, you are wealthy. You are rich. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you had to worry about your meal. Now you got more food than you need. Like now you throw food away versus trying to save every last chicken tender, right? So I'm learning. It's like, yo, stop. Like, I put too much unnecessary pressure on myself. If you watching this, you may be in that same boat. You 28 or 33 or whatever, and you got all of this today's societal era pressure on you. Like you thinking you need to be here from where you are now. And it's like, but where do you come from? Right? If you're watching this, where do you come from? What have you built from? Like what have you overcame? What obstacles have you learned from? What obstacles have you thought you could not overcome? Like you didn't see no possible light at the end of the tunnel, but somehow you made it through. Think about those for a second and really analyze where you are now. Are you really behind in life? Like, are you really behind in life? I got you. I feel it. I'm human. I feel the pressures of you could have been here if you did that. Well, yeah, if you would have made that decision the right way, you could have. But I'm learning we got to stop listening to that side. We got to stop putting all this unnecessary pressure on ourselves because in reality, for one, you can't change the past. And for two, the past is where the value is. I'm like, bro, you had to go through what you had to go through over the last 3 years. So now for the next 3 years, you can make the right decisions. You had to make these business failures and these wrong investments and all of these things that you did wrong. You had to do that. So then the next 3 years, now you got more wisdom. You better at decision making. It's setting you up, right? A lot of times we think we don't have to go through those obstacles. And I'm starting to really look at my life and it's like, growing up in Detroit was the same thing. Not, I had to be to a point to where I had to worry about my next meal and all this stuff I went through as a kid growing up. it created the ambition and desire that I have now to help people who may be going through that. Help people to let them know there is a way out. Help people to let them know that, yo, if you just keep pushing and keep having faith, you can get to a place that you never dreamed of. And I'm learning, it's like, bro, stop looking at your failures and your past as I wish I did this, or I wish I would have just did that. I wish I was born with money. I wish my parents left me a house. I wish, because in reality, the kids who may start off like that, there's nothing wrong with that. My kids is going to start off much better than I did, put it that way. But the people who start like that, a lot of times, it's hard for them to really appreciate, or it's hard for them to really have hunger and drive when they're already, when they're born just with everything that you could possibly want, right? And that's what I'm learning. Like, bro, stop. Just, if you're watching this, just learn to stop. Over the years, I've been practicing, I've been learning, like, to to be happy with what I have. Like, yes, I have all this ambition and all of these things, but that can blind you to the blessings that's around you. That could blind you to the true value of your life. That could blind you from the journey. That could just blind you. So if you feel behind in your life, I hear you all day. Half of me do too. But let's open up that other half. Let's get to that half that you may have, your emotions have been blocking you from. Let's get to that spiritual side that God has, the obstacles God gave you strength to get through, the chosen path God chose for you, right? Let's talk about that. Let's open that up. That's what this video is about. And it's funny because you might see me and think I'm just super happy now. No, this is a video as a reminder to myself to remember, yo, you've came from humble beginnings. Now I have a wife, I have a beautiful daughter, I have a beautiful family, I have a reliable car, I have all these. I was catching the bus to high school. I stood at the bus stop for hours in the wintertime in Detroit, 1 degree weather, and I'm out there with a hoodie on. You feel me? My mama told me to wear a coat, so that was on me. It wasn't on her, but I'm out there with a hoodie on, right? Freezing. That's probably why I'm so cold now. My wife think I'm anemic. But anyway, like, you came from that, bro. Now you in a position where you literally, I walk in a grocery store. Don't get me wrong. I used to walk in the grocery store as a kid, like 20, we probably had $20 budget, the family. So we gotta literally make sure now it's like, what do we need, baby? Like, what do we need to get so we can have, to set up our meals for the week? Like, so many things have changed in my life. Like, I went from here to there, and it's kind of like, I did it, I had support. Don't get me wrong. I grew up with a loving family. My mother and my father, I had my mother and my father in my life. So love, I believe, is the main reason I even got through what I got through. But I grew up with that. And now I'm in a position where I can, do stuff for my wife, do stuff for my daughter, things that I would have never imagined I could do. And it's like, don't feel down. Like, don't feel like you behind in life, because when that happens, you can sink into depression. Like me, I could literally have flashes of one half of me happy and the other half is just like, nah, you could be doing better. I make self-improvement content. People who create content like this are usually people who have somewhat of an obsession with self-improvement. Okay. I'm guilty of that over the years. I read books, I watch inspirational content, I listen to podcasts. I'm constantly trying to learn and reinvent myself. But it's a slippery slope when it comes to happiness. It's a slippery slope when it comes to mental health. And mental health is something I've really been looking into over the years and been wondering. It's something that I've struggled with: depression, anxiety, all those things. So now I'm so passionate about helping people that may be going through that. That's why if you clicked on this video is for you. And I hope you get some value out of this that's going to help you start moving in the right direction. And if not, I'm going to ensure you get some value. I got 3 tips I'm going to share with you to help you shift your mindset. This is about not feeling down. This is not feeling behind, because it's really some bull crap. You're not behind. Okay. It's just your mindset that you need to shift to see where you really are. So, tip number 1, you got to change your perspective. I know it's not easy. I'm working on my perspective right now, day by day. I'm figuring out ways to stop looking at things, like I say, it's 2 sides. You got the negative side, you got the positive side. I heard Jim Rohn said this powerful message. He said both sides are right. The negative side is telling the truth, and the positive side is telling the truth too. yeah, the glass is half empty, right? But it's also half full, right? They're both true. So if I say it's half full, you say it's half empty. Only difference is I'm looking at the positive side, you're looking at the negative side, but we're both right, right? And when Jim Rohn said that, that was like a little like a awakening moment for me. I'm like, okay, it's nothing wrong with those negative thoughts. They're there. You got to learn to listen to them and analyze them and be like, yeah, I hear you, bro. Yeah, you right. It is half empty. Yeah, we might run out, but guess what? It's also half full. We got something here to work with. At least we got something to work with, right? Perspective. You start shifting your perspective day by day, it will really start to change your happiness. As a family man now, I have a wife, I have a daughter. It's so easy to get caught up in obligation, right? Uh, Dragging your feet. I do that. My wife will probably tell you, like, I gotta do this. I feel like I gotta do that. Obligation. That's the negative side. Positive side is, man, you know what? It's a blessing that I get to do this. It's a blessing that God gifted me a wife and a daughter that's in good health. It's a blessing I get to take my wife and daughter to the park. It's a blessing I get to change my daughter's diaper, right? It's a blessing I get to do that. I could be immobilized to a point to where I could be there, but I couldn't be there. So it's like, we got to start looking at the positive side of things all the time and looking at the negative side, being like, you right, bro, but I'm over here. Okay, so that's tip number one. Learn to change your perspective. Now, tip number two, go from scarcity to abundance mindset. Now, this one is tough. I'm still working on this. Why? I came from poverty, I came from scarcity. If you listen to this, if you came from it, you know exactly what I mean by that. Nickel and diamond. You feel me? You at a restaurant. You eat 80, 90% of your food. You got one chicken tender left and three fries, and you taking that to the crib. Like, no, throw that away. Okay, move on, right? We got to learn how to start throwing stuff away, moving on, and believing in abundance. Believe that God has infinite energy, infinite resources. They are here. The news, it's a lot of negative stuff out there. What that does is it starts to get in our head and have us living from a fearful scarcity mindset, fearful of running out of stuff, fearful of, you penny pinching. But the truth is, and do your research, people who live an abundance lifestyle are usually people who they don't look at prices. They don't worry about it. They're not worried about how much that costs. They'll give that away. They'll just throw that away. They're not. I know it's stuff in your closet that probably been there for 3, 4 years. Me too. I'm still, working on cleaning it out. But I remember when I got out the Navy, when I was moving from Washington back to Michigan, I had new shoes. I had stuff that I had just sitting there for years. And honestly, I started throwing a lot of that stuff away. I threw some of it away. I gave some of it away. Because I started saying to myself, bro, when are you going to ever use this? Like, let's be real. It's been in your closet for 3 years. Do you think you ever really gonna use this, or are you letting scarcity make you hold on to it? So there's plenty of more clothes out there. There's plenty more shoes out there that you can wear that you're going to wear. So just get rid of that and move on. Okay. And that's just one piece of it. I might do a whole video about scarcity versus abundance mindset because it goes deep. It really does, especially if you come from humble beginnings. So take what I just said though. Start shifting from scarcity to abundance mindset. That's that spiritual side. And I'm telling you, your life will change. Now, tip number three, last but not least, stop comparing so much. I mentioned it earlier in the video. Comparing is good, but you don't want to compare all the time because what it does, it blocks you from embracing your unique story. Your unique story that's being written right now. It's special. You are one of one, right? I just turned 27. I had to start looking back like, bro, you come from Detroit. You did this. You went to the Navy. You did all this stuff. This is your story. Stop comparing. I'm 27. When I remember I was 23, I used to be like, by the time I'm 30, I want to be a millionaire. But it's like, why do you want to be a millionaire? Oh, because you was on Instagram and you saw a guy that was 28 that became a millionaire in 2 years, right? But what am I putting that pressure on me for? What if I become a millionaire at 31, 37? Or what if I get to a point where I don't even care to become a millionaire? What if I become just a thousandaire, right? My story is my story. Your story is your story. Start to embrace it. I did a whole video about that because we got our own strengths, we got our own weaknesses, and we got our own pen to the paper. God writing the story. He let us, write it and try to guide us to write it the way He wants us to write it. But at the end of the day, it's your story. And the more you can embrace it, the more you can live here and not outside, the more your mindset will shift and your life will change. So I'm Rasta White. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you for watching this. And I hope if you are feeling behind, this video gave you some value to help you move forward. Forget the last 3 years, forget the last 10 years that you messed up in. Take those lessons and move forward. Let's make the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Let's make them amazing. Let's just make them simply amazing, making better decisions, filled with love, enjoying every year by year, and moving towards that North Star that God set before you. I'm Rasta White again. Peace out.